On my wedding night, the billionaire CEO pinned me against the bathroom door, the tips of his slightly drunk eyes red, his voice hoarse beyond recognition. No separate bedrooms. I crushed the post-nup in my hand, a little dazed. We'd agreed this was only a contract marriage, so why was he tearing up the script the moment we walked in? The man's tall frame swallowed mine. He leaned down, scorching breath brushing my ear. Also, this place has too many bathrooms. To save water, we shower together from now on. Me? What kind of weird conservation plan is that? Staring at the hard lines of muscle beneath his unbuttoned shirt, my brain blue screened. Help. This man seems even more dangerous than the rumors. Sign it and your mother's medical bills are paid. The cold voice crashed over my head in Hunter's top floor office. I stared at the man in front of me, Hunter, the undisputed head of Hunter. He sat with his back to a wall of glass, the city's lights framing him like a private backdrop. His face was so handsome it felt lethal, straight nose, thin lips, and even the gold-rimmed glasses couldn't tame the chill. A file slid across the desk. Prenup. Mom had been rushed to the ICU, draining every cent we had and burying us in debt. When I was out of options, Hunter family's butler found me. Marry Hunter and every problem disappears. Just like those urban legends where you sell your soul to the devil. Why me? I asked, the question gnawing at me. I was ordinary, fresh out of design school, fetching coffee at a 12-person studio. While he lived at the top of a pyramid, our lines were never meant to cross. Hunter lifted his gaze. Behind the lenses his eyes were fathomless. I need a wife. You need money. A fair exchange. His fingers tapped the desktop, steady, deliberate, each knock tightening the screws on my panic. I bit my lip and picked up the pen. For Mom. I had no choice. The instant I signed Anya, I heard the heavy clank of fate's gears locking into place. The moment the ink dried, I was driven to Hunter's private estate, Vista Manor. The mansion was a maze of black, white, and soulless gray, as cold as its owner. That night I hugged the pillow I'd brought and headed for the guest room. The door had barely cracked when a hand caught my wrist from behind, gentle but inescapable. I turned and slammed into Hunter's dark eyes. At some point he'd changed into a silk robe, the lapels open enough to reveal a slice of firm chest, shower steam, cedar, and a trace of whiskey curled around me, dangerous and delicious. Where do you think you're going? His voice was low. I was going to sleep in the guest room. My heart hammered way too fast. Who authorized that? A faint line appeared between his brows, the first crack in that granite face. Prenup 5, for appearances. Spouses share a bedroom. I froze. There's a clause like that. I'd skimmed nothing. Mom's illness had eaten my focus. Reading the blank on my face, he backed me into the corner. Anya, you signed. You perform. His heat radiated through my thin t-shirt. But the contract says we're only business. I squeaked, clutching my last straw. So, he arched an eyebrow, dipped until his lips grazed my ear. If we're selling a happy marriage, we sell the full package. His breath tickled. My cheeks combusted. Seeming satisfied, he released me and strode toward the master bedroom, robe hem flashing a stretch of calf. Quit dawdling. I followed like I was hypnotized. The master bedroom was even bigger. Still iceberg chic. A colossal bed squatted in the middle, obnoxiously prominent. I stood at the edge, limbs twitching. Hunter tugged a new comforter from the wardrobe and tossed it on. You sleep inside. I exhaled, thanks on my tongue, until he added, bed's huge. But I have rules. No crossing the line. No snoring. No. He rattled off a list of no's until my head spun. I cocooned myself in the blanket, caterpillar style. 8 miles from him. Lights off. Blackout. His even breathing drifted over, and somehow my nerves eased. Just as I slipped towards sleep, he shifted. An arm shot out, hooked my waist, and reeled me in. I went rigid. Cold, he mumbled. Half asleep. His chest welded to my back. Heat pouring through me, chasing the night chill. Cedar and soap filled my lungs. My pulse cartwheeled. The man was a living whirlpool, and I was already circling the drain. When I woke the next morning, his side was empty, but still warm. I rubbed my eyes. Last night felt like a dream. If the ghost of his arm weren't still tingling around my waist, I'd swear I'd imagined it. I dragged myself to the bathroom, then pulled on my cheap tee and jeans, outfits that screamed wrong address in this palace. Downstairs, Hunter presided over the mile-long table, flipping through the financial pages in a steel gray suit. Gold glasses parked on his nose, keep back vibes radiating like sunlight off glass. Morning light haloed him. He looked photoshopped. Up, he asked without looking up. Eat. I tiptoed to the opposite chair. The spread ran from congee to croissants. I spooned millet porridge so quietly the porcelain barely clicked. From today Vincent drives you to work. He folded the paper, eyes pinning me. Really? The subways? I blurted. His brow creased. Article 7, Coordinated transport for mutual convenience. Again the contract? How many bizarre clauses had I signed? But, no buts. Steele laced his tone. Or would you rather waste 40 minutes, crushed between strangers, than steal an extra half-hour of sleep? Checkmate. Extra sleep is holy. So I climbed into the blinding Rolls-Royce and ducked out a block early, feeling like a fugitive. At Stellar, the gang was huddled around somebody's phone. Guys, did you see today's financial? Hunter's been spotted with a mystery woman, the Ice King who hates females. Let me see. My stomach lurched. The photo was grainy. Hunter leaning toward a white dress brunette at a white tablecloth joint. Body language intimate. Her face was pixelated, but the poise screamed pedigree. Headline, Hunter CEO's wedding bells. Rumored fiancé, Giselle. Childhood sweetheart. Perfect couple, he's gorgeous. She's a genius pianist. Fate, right? They sighed. I slunk to my cubicle. Chest weirdly tight. So there's someone he actually likes. Of course, men like Hunter don't catch feelings for nobodies like me. We're just a transaction. The thought should have relieved me. Mostly it hollowed me out. Keep your heart locked. I told myself. When the timer dings, take the money and run back to real life. That afternoon I was drafting a mock-up when my boss trotted over. Smile dripping honey. Anya, someone's here for you. Outside, Hunter lounged against his car in weekend gear, fewer shark vibes. More lion at rest. Pedestrian heads swiveled like puppets. What are you doing? I'm working. He didn't answer. Just laced his fingers through mine and tucked me into the back seat. Hunter, stop. I'm clocked in. He slammed the door. Leaned in, palms caging me against the leather. Working. For pennies so random men can ogle you? What men? The one who spent 5 minutes staring at you outside your studio. Acid flavored his voice. Oh, the client who'd chatted me up about logos. He was just, I don't care. His eyes pinned me. Black and volcanic. Remember who you are. Anya. You're Hunter now. Cedar swirled around me. My heartbeat lost its rhythm. Staring at his unfair face, I heard myself ask, and the woman in the news. Giselle. The air froze. His expression iced over. He caught my chin, forcing me to meet him. Are you interrogating me? He looked ready to breathe fire. A lion whose mane had been pulled. I thought he would explode. Warn me to stay out of his business. Instead, he looked at me for a long moment, then dipped his head and kissed me. The kiss came out of nowhere, fierce as a sudden storm. My mind went blank. All I knew was the burning heat of his mouth and the ruthless way he claimed me. He wasn't kissing. He was biting, branding. When I was dizzy for air, he eased back just enough to rest his forehead against mine. Breathing hard. Stop thinking about people who don't matter. Look only at me. My lips tingled and throbbed, but something inside me lurched like a wave slamming the shore. Was he jealous? I crushed the thought the instant it surfaced. Impossible. He just hated the idea of anyone touching his property. Back at Vista Manor the air was thick with awkwardness. I pleaded fatigue and headed for a shower, but the moment I opened the bathroom door steam rolled out, cloudy, warm, scented with his cologne. Hunter was inside, water sheeted over the broad slope of his back, droplets racing along the carved lines of muscle before disappearing beneath the towel slung low on his hips. I slammed the door shut, cheeks so hot they hurt. Seen enough? Amusement laced his voice through the wood. Who said I was looking? I didn't know you were in there. I stammered, heart kicking like a drum. The lock clicked. The door swung open. Hunter stepped out bare-chested. A towel knotted at his waist, ruffling wet hair with one hand. The man was sculpted, lean in clothes. Solid muscle now. 8 perfect squares of abs catching the light. I jerked my gaze away. Weren't you going to shower? Go ahead. He sounded almost cheerful. I bolted past him and locked myself in. When I finally emerged, hair wrapped in a towel, he was sitting on the bed holding a blow dryer. Come here. Why? I eyed him warily. Sleep with wet hair and wake up sick? He frowned, impatient. I inched forward and sat. Warm air poured over my scalp as his long fingers threaded through my thick waves. Surprisingly gentle. I'd always hated this part of washing my hair. No one had ever volunteered to do it for me. The room felt hushed, almost cozy. In the chrome of the nightstand, I watched his reflection. Head bent, eyes focused. Nothing $EL at B7 hashtag KF 0% equals F. 36 SE equals 1. 22 L6M equals L17 L92 / asterisk 9% plus QI09 LAM 24D $83 I4A4S9C2 2 L24 asterisk 09 F2 Q07H E at H9G hashtag A5 asterisk P 2B0 K6 6 C2B2 I2M% C2 H2G% H2D2E K2A% H2Q at 3 asterisk I09 F2 Q07H E at H9G hashtag A5 asterisk P A2B0 K61 hashtag 2 hashtag 3 hashtag 4 hashtag 5 hashtag 6 hashtag 7 hashtag 8 hashtag 9 hashtag 10 hashtag 11 hashtag 12 hashtag 13 hashtag 14 hashtag 15 hashtag 16 hashtag 17 hashtag 18 hashtag 19 hashtag 20 hashtag. The next few days slid into an ice age. Hunter slipped out before dawn, came back after midnight, and I ducked him at every turn. The manor was huge, echoing, and terrifyingly quiet. Without him beside me, I discovered I'd grown addicted. At meals my gaze still flicked to the head of the table. At night the empty half of the mattress felt like a canyon. I laughed at my own sap. Anya, you've known the man 5 minutes, and you've already misplaced your heart. At Stellar the gossip mill was still grinding away about the gala. Oh my god, Anya, your husband is insanely hot. When he said, she's my wife, and that name is all the credential she needs, I died. Right. The whole city's calling Hunter a wife-worshipping maniac. I answered with a wry shake of my head. Wife-worshipping. They had no idea it was just theater for the cheap seats. That weekend the hospital called. My mother had stabilized and I could visit. The news lifted pounds off my chest. I grabbed my purse and ran. I sat with her all afternoon, talking until my throat rasped. She was still unconscious, but the doctors swear constant chatter helps. Outside, night had fallen. I had barely stepped off the elevator when I spotted a familiar silhouette under a plane tree. Hunter leaned there, a cigarette glowing between his fingers, his angular face strobed by the tiny flame. A small pile of butts said he'd been waiting a while. The moment he saw me, he killed the ember and strode over. What are you doing here? I blurted, passing by. His voice stayed flat, but his eyes quartered my face. How's your mother? Much better. I kept my own voice low. He gave a single grunt, then silence folded around us. We walked the hospital path side by side, saying nothing, yet the air felt looser than it had in days. I'm sorry. The words burst out of him. I blinked. For what? That night, I shouldn't have exploded. And anything Giselle said, don't swallow it. I didn't. You did. He cut me off. Certain. It got to you. Heat rushed into my cheeks. I had no comeback. He exhaled like a man surrendering. Anya, I admit we started as a transaction, but I never filed you under replacement copy. Then why pick me at all? I mustered the question that had been gnawing me. He studied me so long I thought he'd walk away without answering. Then, soft as a secret, he said, because I already knew you. What? 12 years ago. Southside Children's Home. Remember the little boy whose toy got swiped? He was bawling in the corner. 12 years, orphanage. A hazy picture surfaced. My family had lived nearby. Mom dragged me there every weekend to volunteer. I'd consoled a crying kid, hadn't I? You handed me a candy, Hunter went on, voice featherlight, as if cradling something priceless. The sweetest thing I've ever tasted. My heart lurched so hard it hurt. That boy, was you? He nodded, a faint smile lifting the corner of his mouth. The next week, the Hunter family claimed me. I searched for you for years. Then Vincent dropped your file on my desk. So our thread stretched back that far. I wasn't a stand-in. I was the girl he'd hunted for 12 years. You knew it was me from day one? Yeah. His gaze carried layers I couldn't name, but I couldn't tell if you remembered. I was scared I'd scare you off. That explained the contract. A net to keep me close. The frost. The orders, window dressing for sheer nerves. Every inconsistency clicked into place. Tears welled again, but this time they tasted like relief. Hunter fumbled, panicked. Why are you crying? Did I screw up? I shook my head, rose on tiptoe, and slid my arms around his waist. Hunter, you big idiot. He froze a heartbeat, then crushed me against him so tightly the world vanished. Once the misunderstanding evaporated, our axis tilted. He was still domineering and acid-tongued, but now velvet lined the barbs. Gone were the clipped commands. Instead, he asked, "What you feel like for dinner? I'll have the chef prep it." Or, "Art exhibit tomorrow? Interested?" He filed away my quirks. Cilantro is trash. Hot cocoa equals oxygen. When I sketched past midnight, he'd appear with warm milk. Sit nearby, watch me work and never interrupt. The Stellar girls swore I was glowing. I rolled my eyes and felt sugar bubbles pop in my veins. One afternoon I was sorting swatches when an unknown number rang. "Is this Anya?" A razor-sharp female voice sliced through. "Speaking. Who's this?" "Names don't matter. Crawl away from Hunter while you still can. That crown doesn't fit a street sparrow." My brows snapped together. Identity. Now. Cute. 30 minutes. Downtown Starbucks. Skip it, and your mom's 4 might 9 GMLX. Ugh. E Garant Emozi, / Vivadinage Ontim Decode Inception 0 Angolo 0 Decad Ming Messenger 0 DLBL 0 Mozambique 0 Give 0 Masking Techniques 0 Inch Anya. Did you piss someone off? My stomach gave a little lurch. What happened? Shaw at Stellar just called and killed our collaboration. My boss's face was gray. We've prepped that project for months. The contract was basically signed. Now it's dead. And it's going to hurt. Stellar, Monica's father owns it. Has to be her handiwork. Boss, I'm sorry. It's my fault. Guilt clogged my throat. Don't blame yourself. He exhaled. Tiny fish like us can't fight that tide. Just a shame, especially after you pulled those all-nighters. My heart ached. My private mess had dragged the whole studio down. That night Hunter came home, saw my face, and kept asking until I spilled. When I finished, his expression iced over. He pulled out his phone. Chairman Shaw, Hunter here. His voice could have frozen the screen. I hear you canceled the deal with my wife's studio. Very well. Starting tomorrow, Hunter pulls out of every contract with Stellar, and I will make sure this city has no room left for you. He hung up without waiting for an answer. I stared, stunned by the speed of his strike. Isn't that a bit reckless? Reckless? One brow lifted. Touch my people and you pay the price. No one gets to mess with Hunter's woman. In that moment the aura rolling off him felt like a fortress. My man would stand between me and every storm. Hand me the world wrapped in silk. Next morning my boss called, hyperventilating. Anya. Shaw showed up in person to apologize, reinstated the project and doubled the budget. Plus 3 majors are ring-fighting to sign with us. We're blowing up. I lowered the phone and smiled at the man flipping pancakes in my kitchen. With the studio crisis gone, life slid back into calm. No, into something sweeter. Hunter had flipped a switch. His compliment game leveled up daily. He'd kiss my forehead while I was still half dreaming. Morning. Hunter. He'd wrap me from behind while I worked. Chin on my shoulder. Whining. Babe, I'm starving. When are you coming home to cook for me? If I sulked, he turned into a shaggy retriever, drooping until I caved. Sometimes I blinked and wondered, this clingy, cuddly guy is the ruthless CEO the city fears. One day he handed me 2 plane tickets. What's this? Honeymoon. He hooked his arms around my waist, lips at my ear, making up for the one I owe you. The destination, Starlight. The island synonymous with candlelit decks and white sand proposals. We left reality on the jet bridge. On Starlight we shed titles and schedules and became a regular couple. Hand in hand we chased sunrise footprints, then sunset shadows. He fumbled daisies into a lopsided crown, lopsided, and I swore I'd keep it forever. While he swam I sketched him from the sand, trapping every smirk. Nights we stayed in an overwater teak cottage, waves applauding below, constellations above. He rocked us on the balcony lounger and told me about the boy he'd been. Born rich yet lonely, 2 strangers in a boardroom marriage too busy to parent. Then kidnappers dumped him in an orphanage. And I showed up. That day you were light cracking through my dark, he murmured, lips brushing my hair. I swore I'd find you and never let go. My eyes blurred. Long before we knew names, fate had knotted our strings. Hunter, I lifted my head. I love you. He froze, joy exploding in those dark irises. Then he kissed me, no conquest, just reverence, while the tide hummed and the stars took notes. We wouldn't be parted again. Back home, the first thing he did was plan the wedding he said I deserved, one the whole city would remember. He obsessed over every detail, the gown, the flowers flown in from Holland, the guest list that read like the Forbes index. My dress was sewn by the designer every A-lister kills for, cut from my own sketch and crusted with 999 diamonds, because, he said, rare treasures need rare fire. The night before, I visited Mom. She'd moved from ICU to a regular room, still asleep. Vitals steady, miracle numbers. I sat, holding her hand, and told her the whole fairy tale. Wake up soon. I want you to see how happy your daughter is. Tears dripped off my chin. Warm thumbs wiped them away. Hunter, silent behind me. Don't cry, he whispered, kneeling. From now on I'm your roof. I'll take care of you for her. He sandwiched my mother's hand between his. I swear I'll love Anya every day. Protect her. Never let her hurt. Sunlight brushed his profile. The moment felt dipped in honey. Wedding date shut down half the city. 100 Rolls-Royces bumper to bumper. A private Starlight transformed into a storybook set. Every power suit in Riverdale showed up, plus a few international billionaires flown in on jets. In my one-of-a-kind gown, I walked toward Hunter on the arm of his grandfather, the sly matchmaker who started it all. Hunter waited in white, eyes glassy, love and thrill leaking through every seam. When Gramps placed my hand in his, he clamped down like he'd caught the world. Hunter, do you take Anya to be your wife? Rich or poor, sick or healthy, to love, honor, and keep, forsaking all others. So long as you both shall live, I do. Zero hesitation. Voice thick. Anya. Do you? I do. I blurted, beating the priest. Laughter rippled through the crowd. He slipped the ring home, knuckles brushing my pulse. Wifey, I love you. Right back at you. He kissed me while cameras flashed and doves scattered like confetti. Married life tasted like stolen frosting. Hunter bought the studio outright and handed me the deed. Your talent shouldn't punch a clock. He became my biggest fangirl/investor, bankrolling every crazy idea. My own label launched. Orders poured in. 1 year later the stick turned pink, twice. Twins. He spun me, laughing like a kid, then turned into my personal secret service. Fruit peeled, back rubbed, bedtime stories at CFO level. I teased that Riverdale's coldest tycoon now answered to head nanny. He claimed it sounded nobler than CEO anyway. Delivery day he paced the corridor until nurses made him sit. When they wheeled me out he ignored the bassinets and dove for me. You worked so hard, baby. Our son inherited his jaw. Our daughter got my eyes, Nathan and Natalie, little bookmarks of the people we used to be. On their lunar birthday mom opened her eyes. I sobbed thank yous into her shoulder while Hunter held the babies like trophies. That night I found him frowning at the skyline, murmuring into his phone. I wrapped my arms around his waist. He killed the call and buried his face in my neck. What's wrong? Small fires. He kissed my knuckles. Nothing you need to worry about, Hunter. You shielded me long enough. Let me be your harbor now, whatever comes. We docked together. The frost in his gaze melted into something I could swim in. Deal. He covered my mouth with his. Slow and certain. Outside, the moon glazed our windows. The stars kept watch. Our happily ever after had only just started typing its first chapter.